For the traps, I play 1 copy of Rage, 1 copy of Roar, or no, wow. Oh, hey, what's up you guys? How's it going? It's Papa, and today we're going to be taking a look at my Salamangreat deck profile for the current February 2021 format. But yeah, without further ado, I say we go ahead and jump right into things. But first, a little disclaimer. I am now in a new place. I finally have the place that I've been looking for what feels like the longest time. Ever since I really started the channel, I've been looking for a new place to live. Now, me and my girlfriend are here, and we are expecting our baby on the way. So in the future, please expect a little bit of less uploads, but that's not going to be around till like April. So in the month of March, we're going to be producing more videos every single week again. But until my baby gets here, just please bear with me, and I want to take some time to see my daughter. But in the meantime, I have some Salamangreat stuff to show you. So let's get into it, shall we? Okay, let's go ahead and jump into our deck profile, shall we? Starting off with the main deck, we are playing the 1 copy of Salamangreat Gazelle, as well as the 2 copies of Foxy, 2 copies of Spinny, and 2 copies of Jack Jaguar with the 1 lone Falco. So this is basically the same list that I had in my last time I profiled Salamangreat. Nothing really has changed in the Salamangreat monster lineup. I still prefer Falco over Foul just because I like the synergy that it has in the later game. Falco really just does too much in the late game, whereas I feel Foul is just more of an extender during your turn 1. But I'd rather have a better grind than a better turn 1. And then for our normal summons, I still play 3 copies of Lady Debug. I see people leaning away towards Debug with cards like Gamma, cards like Imperm going around. But honestly, I'd rather have the Debug get stopped than the Balinks. It's good when the Debug gets stopped because they waste their Imperm or Gamma on that, and if you can still extend with getting Gazelle, then Gazelle has a better chance of going off. And I just really like that component about that. So I feel Debug is better. Sure, you get a draw 2 off of Buffalo. You're hoping for a chance to get into Gazelle other than having that guaranteed Gazelle. What I'm trying to say is that I see Flame Buffalo as I see Allure of Darkness, where you could have a play, but maybe you could draw into a play that's better than what you originally had. But if you draw into nothing, then you kind of just don't go anywhere from there. So that's why I prefer Debug, just because it gets you to Gazelle, whereas Flame Buffalo doesn't really have that guaranteed fact that you're going to get into Gazelle. It really just depends on your playstyle, but personally I like Lady Debug better. And then I play 3 copies of Parallel Exceed. This shouldn't come as a surprise. This card literally wins you games by itself by making your Baguska or just helping you extend into Link 3s so you can build into your access code talker. 3 copies of Ash Blossom. I play 3 copies of Ash because it's a fire hand trap and it's the most generic. You never know what you're going to go against, so I think having this in just your match 1 or game 1 is better. Having Ash in game 1 just assures like you always have a negate at the ready, as opposed to playing cards like Imperm, as opposed to playing cards like Ogre or Veiler, and it's a fire, so you can always add it back off of Sunlight Wolf. And then the last 2 hand traps I play is 2 copies of Ghost Bell. I don't really like 3 Ghost Bell. I think it just sucks because it's the worst one to draw that is once per turn. I'd rather have 3 copies of Ash. Technically you could play Skullmeister since it isn't a once per turn card, but I don't like Skullmeister in this deck, so I just prefer playing the 2 Bell over that. And that's actually the only hand traps I'm playing in this build. I know my last list had a lot more hand traps, but I switched out the hand traps for more trap cards, but I'll get into that a little bit later. For the spells, I play 3 copies of Signet Mining, and then I play 3 copies of Pot of Desires. I got a lot of shit for not playing Pot of Desires in my last list, so here it is, 3 copies of Desires. You could play 2. This is a 41 card deck, so you could play 2 if you want, but I just play 3 because I like having it as a side out. And then 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone. I shouldn't really have to explain Cosmic Cyclone too much. It is really key in this format with all the control decks going around. Decks like Eldritch getting rid of the Eldland or getting rid of their Sanguines, basically just making it to where they run out of resources is key. I kind of want to play 3 of it, but instead I play the 2 Cyclones with the 2 copies of Book of Moon. I like Book of Moon in this deck because you can afford to play it. I want to have as much interaction as possible, but sometimes you brick with too many hand traps and they don't really do anything as opposed to stopping your opponent. Like, you could have a Veiler in hand, but their monster can still attack. So I like having the idea of where I could just Book of Moon a problematic card
or even Book of Moon, a zoo card. It really just depends on what you're playing against, but I think Book of Moon in the main deck is fine. I've been playing it and it's done so much wonders. 2 copies of Will. I only play 2 because I play Desires in this list, so I was thinking about cutting it down to 1 if I wasn't going to play Desires, but since I am, I just play the 2. And then the 1 Sanctuary and the 1 Circle shouldn't come as a surprise there. But that's it for the spell lineup. For the traps, I played the 1 copy of Rage and 2 copies of Roar. I just prefer Roar over Rage because you can reset it when you link summon a monster with the same materials, so having Roar being able to do that is good. And if I banish 1 off Desires, I won't feel too bad because I'll still have the other one in the deck. And then the other 2 traps I play is 2 copies of Solemn Strike. I kind of want to play Judgment, but if I knew that I was going first every time, I would play Judgment, but since I'm going first or second and I don't always know, I just play the Strike because it's good going both first and second. And then the last 3 traps I play are 3 copies of Torrential Tribute. I play Torrential because you can protect with Balinks on your salad board. It's just the most chainable trap that you can play, especially right now when everyone's trying to build a board that isn't control, and it just catches a lot of players off guard and they have to really play around it, and if they don't, they get punished. But yeah, so that's it for the main deck. I believe it's 41 cards. For the extra deck, I play the 3 Balinks. I'm just going to go by the extra deck really fast because there's not really too much to explain, because everything is basically the same as the last time I profiled it. I do play the 1 Phoenix though, and then Splash Mage, and the 1 Update Jammer. Shouldn't come as a surprise. This helps you get into your OTK. These cards are really crucial in the deck because they just do wonders. When you know that you have a guaranteed game, you can make your transcode talker and just swing and steal games by bumping up into your access code talker. If you don't have access code talker, I'd suggest playing like maybe Zeraboros or Bomber Dragon. Basically, as long as it's a Cyberse monster, play that. If you don't have access code, I don't really know what else to tell you. I'm sorry, it's just really good in this deck and I think you need it. And then the last 2 cards I play in the extra deck are just 2 Xyz. I play the Baguska with the Dweller. That's really it. Can't really explain too much. I want to play Tornado Dragon, I really do, but I find these cards to just be too good not to play. Especially when you have a deck that can afford to make rank 4s as easy as it did with Parallel Exceed. Just being able to help you extend too well into your game 1 on your first turn. But yeah, that's it for the extra deck. For the side deck, I play 3 copies of Nibiru and 2 copies of Gizmet Kaku. I really like Gizmet Kaku in this deck. Just being able to Thousand Eyes restrict a monster and being able to summon it freely as a 2750 beater is really good, because when you have a monster in the extra monster zone, for those that don't know what this card does, is that you get to special summon this card from your hand. You can equip a monster that your opponent controls that's in their main monster zone and equip it to this, and if it attacks and does damage, then you get to special summon that equipped monster. So it's basically like a Thousand Eyes Restrict, so I really like it, and it's a fire, so you can always add it back off of Sunlight Wolf if you want. And 2 copies of Alpha with the 1 copy of Pankratops. I don't like 3 Alpha. I don't think you'll ever see me play 3 Alpha. I just find the 2 with the 1 Pank is just better. Sure, if you play 3 Alpha, it increases your chances on opening it, but I don't like the fact that it is once per turn. If we had 3 Pankratops, I'd probably just play 3 Pankratops over the Alpha. And then I play the 1 Feather Duster because we're trying to beat all my back row decks that we play against. And then 3 copies of Dimensional Barrier. This card steals games against Drytron and Zodiac, and any other kind of rogue that you might play against, like Pendulum. And then the last 3 cards I play in the side deck is 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence because you need extra negates when you're going second. So yeah guys, that's it for the deck profile.
And yeah guys, that's it. So thank you for tuning into this week's video. I hope you enjoyed this video a lot. I mean, Salamangreat is one of my favorite decks, so I feel like it can always sneak up in the format because, you know, they're great. Other than that, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time guys, this has been Papa, and I will see you all in my next video. Take care everyone.